Since the beginning of recorded history, India and its people have known how to live in harmony with the environment. Here thrives a culture steeped in more than 5,000 years of continued traditions of worshipping nature. A civilization that shaped itself out of the ways the human animal interacts with its ecosystem. A system of faith which promotes conservation of nature through respect.
जय देव जय राधा कृष्णा गोवर्धन गिरिधारी जय जय गोपाला.
Over thousands of years, India has devised ways and means to conserve forests, beneficial plants and animals by connecting them to faith. Evidences of nature worship are scattered in ancient sites all over the country. A practice kept alive by oral traditions, learnt and taken forward by generations, an ingrained habit followed like an unwritten law. To this day, Gurukuls continue to impart traditional knowledge of ancient scriptures through songs, legends and folk tales. The human being is just a tiny speck in the divine scheme of creations. To be able to survive, he must be able to live in harmony with nature. The snow-covered peaks of the Himalayas, the enchanting forests, clear blue skies. Uttarakhand in north of India is also called Devbhumi, or the land of gods. This is one of the many spaces in India where ancient traditions of nature worship still retain its purity in various folk expressions.
See, Indian culture has had an enormous environmental ethic, if you look at it, and there is no doubt that people across the length and breadth of this country had learned to live on the environment. And it's not a historical accident. It's also the fact that because they lived on the environment, they lived on the land, they lived on the forest, they needed the water, that they learned ways in which that biodiversity, that environment could be conserved by turning it into cultural practices as well.
For the people of Kumaon, the divine presence in nature is an eternal truth. These trees are never to be used for construction purposes or for firewood, a simple faith that has nurtured many trees over generations. Tree worship, a philosophy that teaches people to respect trees, was a simple yet effective move by our forefathers to protect the environment.
पीपल के पेड़ के लिए कहा कि ये ब्राह्मण है और पीपल को काटोगे तो ब्रह्म हत्या लगेगी. क्यों कहा? क्योंकि जब तक किसी के प्रति भय नहीं होगा तब तक हमारी आस्था उसके प्रति नहीं होगी. यदि पर्यावरण बचाना है तो पीपल के वृक्ष जितने ज्यादा लग जाएंगे उतना पर्यावरण हमारा शुद्ध होता चला जाएगा. सबसे ज्यादा ऑक्सीजन पीपल देता है. हमारे धर्म ने बता दिया कि कम से कम कुछ नहीं है तो शनिवार के दिन आप पीपल पर एक लोटा जल चढ़ाया हो और उससे गले मिल लो तो तुम्हारे लिए जितना भी कष्ट है वह समाप्त हो जाएगा. क्यों कहा? कारण है इसमें. हम अस्वस्थ हैं, हमें शुद्ध ऑक्सीजन नहीं मिल रही, तो तो हमारे पूर्वजों ने कहा एक दिन तो कम से कम चले जाओ, और हो सके तो कच्चा सूत के धागे से परिक्रमा लगाओ। क्यों? कच्चा धागा तेज, आप तेज नहीं चल सकते, धीरे चलेंगे, और धीरे चलेंगे तो ऑक्सीजन आपको जितनी मिलेगी उतना आपको लाभ मिलेगा। धर्म से जोड़ा, धर्म के बिना कोई कार्य सफल नहीं हो सकता।
Faith leads to respect, and respect ensures protection. Forests are the lifelines of the people living in the Himalayan range. They have forest deities or Van Devatas who are considered guardian angels of the forests. The local tribes would pay their reverence to these devatas on special occasions. Vanravats are small Himalayan tribes living in Askot, Pithoragarh district in Uttarakhand. Like other communities living in the same geoclimatic space, their entire existence was traditionally dependent on forests.
जो बनराजी लोग हैं वो क्योंकि जंगलों में रहे, जंगलों से इनको भोजन मिला, तो अब इनका जो रोज़गार है, छोटा मोटा रोज़गार है, तो जंगलों से ही है। जो सूखे लकड़ी गिर जाती है और ये घास होती है, तो ये उन चीज़ों को संभाले रखती है। ये बनराजी अन्य जाति को नहीं आने देती है, और जितना इनका क्षेत्र पड़ता है वो वास्तव में वो सुरक्षित जंगल माना जाता है।
The Vanravats worship all aspects of nature. They even enter the forest barefoot as a mark of respect and use only dead trees for firewood. A simple faith by many tribes like these have saved large patches of forests from getting extinct.
There was no internet. There was no communication system. So how did the people of the Northeast communicate with the people in Rajasthan and then with the Western Ghats, all to evolve a common practice of managing forests as sacred groves? And the only reason this happened was because this was very much part of what people needed to do for their own survival. They learned that the forests were very important for their agricultural fields. They learned that without the forest they would not have fodder which they could not give their animals. They learned that soon as the forest disappeared, their springs would disappear. This was not the age of the tap water. This was the age where people understood that water comes from the skies, and the forests are the ways in which you trap the water, you harvest it, you replenish the ground. And it is because of that that all over India you evolved this practice where to keep that forest, you called it sacred.
The country on the whole has more than 200,000 sacred groves. These ecological treasures are rich in biodiversity and preserve many rare species of animals and plants. Today, conservationists have realized that systems of faith could be an important motivation in conservation initiatives.
We wanted to revive the Badrinath forest to its pristine glory. And in 1993, when I went there, there were only 29 standing trees in and around the Badrinath Dham. The idea how to revive it in a remote place like this was because a lot of people go to Badrinath Dham as a means of paying their homage. And then we requested the chief priest of Badrinath Dham to bless the seedlings which were raised there and offer them as Vraksh Prasad. And the devotees or the pilgrims were expected to plant them in and around Badrinath Dham. And on my last visit, I can very safely say I saw more than 29,000 saplings of different kinds. and the example of Badrinath Dham, that how using religious sentiments an entire forest can be revived, has now been accepted by UNESCO as a philosophy for using, to promote conservation.
In Indian philosophy, man has been advised not to tamper with nature and to preserve ecological balance. The Bishnois of Rajasthan do not just believe this, but live this faith. For centuries, they have put their lives at stake to protect their immediate environment.
बिश्नोई लोग हैं, उनसे बढ़कर है कि वो खुद तो न तो हिंसा करते हैं, न नॉनवेज खाते हैं, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ वो अपने एरिया में किसी को जीवों को मारने भी नहीं देते, और उसके लिए और हरे पेड़ों को काटने नहीं देते। उसके लिए उन्होंने अपनी कई ऐसे उदाहरण हैं जिनमें अपनी ज़िंदगियां कुर्बान कर दी। विश्व का सबसे बड़ा उदाहरण है वो खेजड़ी गांव का, जहां पे 363 लोगों ने सिर्फ खेजड़ी का पेड़ बचाने के लिए अपनी जान दे दी थी। उस समय राजा महाराजाओं का राज था, तो उनसे लड़ाई तो कर नहीं सकते, तो उन्होंने सेल्फ सेक्रीफाइस का रास्ता चुना। सभी गांव के लोग एक जगह इकट्ठे हुए और उनमें से तय हुआ कि अपन अपना गला कटा देंगे लेकिन पेड़ नहीं कटाएंगे। तो उसमें सबसे पहले जो एक औरत थी, अमृता देवी, उन्होंने डिसाइड किया कि सबसे पहले मैं जाऊंगी और मैं मेरी जान दूंगी। तो सबसे पहले अमृता देवी ने पेड़ के चिपक गई और उसका गला काट दिया गया। हमारे जो बिश्नोई धर्म है उसमें जो मुख्य जो मूल मोटो है वो है जीव दया पालनी रूख लीलो नहीं खावे। प्रत्येक प्राणी पे आप दया करोगे तो ये सृष्टि अपने आप बच जाएगी। और ये अपन ऐसा करके अपन कोई उन जीवों पे एहसान नहीं कर रहे हैं, अपन पेड़ पे कोई एहसान नहीं करें। प्रकृति का एक सर्किल होता है और उस इंसान भी उस सर्किल का एक पार्ट है।
Their philosophy promotes an inclusive life with nature and all its aspects. The Bishnois fiercely protect the plants and animals in their neighborhood from intruders.
I've been so impressed by what I've learned, because at the time when we were industrializing the world, the Bishnoi were communicating with nature, treating it with respect, worshipping trees and rescuing animals, and hopefully write about my experience in order to inspire people from my country or anywhere else to think about their relationship with the environment. Because here, the Bishnoi take great responsibility for their environment around them, even to the point where they would be happy to sacrifice their own life for a tree or an animal, and that's been done many, many times.
Baijnath, a 12th century temple on the banks of the river Gomati, houses a pond brimming with hordes of fish. Visitors are often found feeding them, as the fish is considered to be the Vahana or the carrier of the temple goddess.
जो ये मछलियाँ हैं ये माँ भगवती के वाहन हैं और इनकी रक्षा ही हमारा धर्म है।
This is yet another unique social device that our ancestors created to maintain ecological balance. They connected animal life forms to the divine to protect them. Intelligent rulers of the past have used this device to safeguard endangered wild animals.
The Nilgai, as some of you would know, was previously known as Nilghod. because it looks like a horse-like animal. It actually belongs to the antelope group of animals, more closely related to the deer family. Nilgai is known to be a very notorious animal because it destroys crops. So people, farmers especially, usually tend to ward it off or even kill it. The species has survived in the development of Delhi. Part of the reason for that is the fondness of this animal by Emperor Aurangzeb, and he called it, he attributed the name Gai or the cow, which is actually sacred to the Hindu community. Doing just that one step of calling it a Nilgai, made these people from, Nilgai hunters to Nilgai preservers. They started conserving Nilgai, they started respecting it.
If Hindus protected animals through divine linkages, Buddhism preached ahimsa or non-violence to prevent destruction and promote conservation of all forms of life. Even today, the holy tree at Bodh Gaya is revered as a symbol of Buddha's attainment of enlightenment. Devotees pay homage to the tree as a link to the divine one. In ancient Indian literature, the role of the river is hailed as the shaper of people's lives, as a material sustainer and a spiritual nourisher. The mighty Ganges is the most respected river of India.
गंगा हमारे सनातन धर्म से ही जुड़ी हुई नहीं बल्कि चारों धर्मों से जुड़ी हुई है। सभी धर्म इसको मानते हैं। बोले हिंदू, मुस्लिम, सिख, ईसाई, हम सभी भाई भाई। इसको प्रमाणित जो करती है वो माँ भगवती गंगा करती है, क्योंकि चाहे सिख हों, चाहे ईसाई हों, चाहे मुस्लिम हों, चाहे हिंदू हों, सभी भगवती को मानते हैं, सभी भगवती में आस्था रखते हैं।
Karnabas, a provincial Uttar Pradesh town, has witnessed a silent revolution in conservation in the last decade. A revolution that brings together faith and science. When a group of scientists from WWF wanted to save the near-extinct Gangetic dolphin, they realized that scientific reasoning was not enough to convince the local villagers.
यहाँ पे जो रिलीजियस लीडर्स हैं, जो साधुज हैं, सन्यासी हैं, उनके बहुत ज़्यादा उनको जो है लोग मानते हैं। हमने कोशिश करी कि ये जो साधु सन्यासी हैं इनको हम समझाएं। आप जो है एक रिलीजियस सेंटीमेंट लेके लोगों के पास इसको प्रवचन देके लोगों को समझाने की कोशिश करें, और जिससे कि उनकी सहमति आई और उन्होंने जो गांव-गांव जाके हमारी जो भाषा थी, साइंटिफिक भाषा, उसको जो है उसको रिलीजियस सेंटीमेंट में ढाल के लोगों के पास पहुंचाने की उन्होंने कोशिश करी। उसका परिणाम ये निकला कि अब जो है इस क्षेत्र में डॉल्फिन की संख्या में काफ़ी वृद्धि आई है, और हम सारे क्रेडिट जो है गांव वालों को देते हैं, क्योंकि ये कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन से ही ये संभव हो सका है।
This little town boasts of an increase in dolphin population and is home to rare migratory birds. Reverence to the Ganga is a common phenomenon in India. Paying homage to the mighty river is an inherent practice, and it acquires special significance in Varanasi. Varanasi for ages has been the great melting pot of Indian culture. Every evening in Varanasi, scores of people gather at the river banks to witness a living tradition of nature worship, paying homage to the river goddess. Devotees claim this to be a centuries-old tradition that celebrates mankind's togetherness with nature. The Aarti, which concludes by waving the fire at the devotees, is a symbolic worship of this holistic existence. Varanasi in many ways is a confluence of India's ingrained system of environmental consciousness. The entire city faces the east as a mark of respect to the rising sun. India worships the sun as the harbinger and protector of life on earth. The Sun Temple at Kosi is more than 1,000 years old. People doing a Surya Namaskar to pay their gratitude to the rising sun is a common sight across the length and breadth of the country. The Gayatri Mantra, one of the most sacred Hindu mantras, is dedicated to the sun. The Indian philosophy is steeped with the awareness that the great forces of nature, the earth, the sky, the air, the water and fire, are crucial to all life forms on earth. Understanding them and protecting their purity is crucial for protecting our own existence.
The whole concept was that here was a part of the environment which was essential and critical for my being. In our modern interest of environmentalism, we don't understand that ethic and that culture which is so integral, because without ethic and without that culture, you can't protect environment. You can only introduce a technology, but you can't protect the environment. And I think that really is the enormous wealth of wisdom that we've had in India.
Every day, even today, a nation and its people pay tribute to a system of thought that respects ecological balance above everything else, because without their working together, life would not be possible. If we are to survive, we need to respect nature, not tamper with it. That's intelligence. That's prudence. And that is what being civilized is all about.